The main thing that you want to do is give people as much value as you can, solve as many problems, and ask for nothing in return. I learned that from Dan Fleischman, my buddy Dan Fleischman. You guys remember the river I described for you? What's the river? The river is ignorance, poverty, scarcity, and obesity. So if you don't take accountability for your life, you flow down this lazy river of ignorance, poverty, scarcity, and obesity. Rule number 5 in Men of Action is we never talk about people behind their back. If someone's doing better than us, then that means we need to learn from them. What's going on, guys? It's Michael Sartain here, and I'm out at a friend of mine's house. He has a paintball field built into his house. And one of the things I wanted to talk about today was, I want to discuss all of the actual signs that there are out there to try to create a negative mindset and try to create a victim mentality for you. I got news for you guys. You are the people that you surround yourself with. So if you're one of these situations where you're constantly around people who find excuses or they find conspiracies for why everything goes wrong in their life, you're gonna find that those people are going to make you the same way. It's one of these things where we all think that we're independent, right? We all think that the world isn't going to affect us. Like we're almost made of glass. But that's just not how the world works, man. What you're gonna find is that when you can actually network with people that make you stronger, make you smarter. I have a buddy of mine, he goes to this gym that's full of all these fitness influencers. And he's like, dude, every time I go to this gym and I don't lift, like I don't do 110 pound dumbbells, like overhead press or whatever, I feel like a bitch. And it's one of these things where you're around, like I have a lot of friends who are very successful entrepreneurs, and these guys read 10, 15, books in a couple of months. They might read 40 or 50 books a year. I have some friends of mine, and they make a lot of money, right? They run a low ticket offer. They might be making a few $1 million a month. And I'm not at that level yet, but it's something that actually helps me. If you have some friends that are maybe doing 75 hard and they stick to their diet, it's so funny, when we look at every civilization throughout history, we find that when there's a normalcy in that civilization or that normalcy in that group, that you're going to find that to be normal as well. Like, so for instance, there's some civilizations, there's some cultures where people eat insects. Well, that's not normal in the United States, not generally, but in those societies it is. So what if you created a society in your life where nobody made excuses, nobody ate processed foods, everybody did intermittent fasting, everyone did cold plunge, everyone did sauna, everyone was able to watch their diet, everyone was able to do maybe exercise splits, never skip the gym, everyone read a number of pages from a book every single day, everyone was going through audio books and actual books, everyone was trying to educate themselves on a regular basis, and then all of your free time with these people, you spend actually raising money for different charities. What would that be like for you? What would your life be like if you surrounded yourself with people like that? I come to networking events like paintball here. I've met several guys who are, that run 8- and 9-figure companies, and we network with each other. But later on this week, I'm going to be hosting an event for animal rescue at the Ahern Hotel. We're going to be working for Foster Friday Foundation. The people that I end up hanging out there are members of the Las Vegas Raiders, members of the Las Vegas Golden Knights. The head coach of the Golden Knights is going to be there. We're going to be doing some incredible work to raise money for, abandoned dogs and cats. But the thing is, you guys are like, well, dogs and cats are not really going to make me rich. They're not going to make me happy. Well, they will make you happy. Rescue an animal. Let me tell you something. There is no greater ROI you will ever get in your entire life than rescuing an animal. As far as like the amount of joy that you will get in your life in response to how much effort you have to put, especially like a cat. If you're rescuing an animal is one of the greatest things. I can't express it enough. Anyway, so I like to create these situations where I surround myself with accomplished people who find it normal. Remember, we talk about what's normal in society, who find it normal to spend their time donating to a soup kitchen, helping people who maybe disabled veterans who have lost a limb, amputees. That's a big one, man, amputees. People who are suffering from different types of cancer, children who are homeless. On December 5th, we're going to be doing an event, Babes in Toyland in Los Angeles. We're going to be raising money for the downtown, we're going to be raising money for the Midnight Mission. On December 12th, we're going to be doing a Babies in Toyland to support Monday's Dark. So these are all things that you can do that are going to help you in your life because you're surrounding yourself with better people. And remember, we talked about this before. The main thing that you want to do is give people as much value as you can, solve as many problems, and ask for nothing in return. I learned that from Dan Fleischman, my buddy Dan Fleischman. It's really important. Now, let's talk about what the opposite is. What's the opposite if you do this? The opposite is that river. You guys remember the river I described for you? What's the river? The river is ignorance, poverty, scarcity, and obesity. So if you don't take accountability for your life, you flow down this lazy river of ignorance, poverty, scarcity, and obesity. So what is ignorance? Ignorance is, I just believe what feels right. To me, ignorance is truly, it's not just the fact that you don't know what the truth is. Ignorance is also when your feelings and your emotions paint over the truth. So it's like Ronald Reagan used to say, it's like, it's not that Democrats aren't smart, it's just that they know too many things that aren't true, right? It's one of those situations like you kind of have an understanding of how the world works, you have a fundamental understanding, but then there's like additional, like there's this layer on top of the cake, this additional layer of shit that you believe in because of your emotions. This would be like very similar to, you know, sort of the woke crowd in the Democrat side of the party, and maybe the conspiratorial crowd in the Republican, you know, side, the conservative side of the party. This is a situation where it feels like something's right. It feels like it's right. I'm not saying there are no conspiracies that are true. There's obviously several, but some people who use the conspiracies in order to make an excuse for why they're not successful, those are the people I'm talking about. So regardless of what these things are, if you go down this river, first you're going to have ignorance. What's the other thing you're gonna have? Obesity. Where does obesity come from? Obesity comes from just a regular American diet. A regular American diet is so chock full of sugar, carbs, it's chock full of fat. If you guys ever read the studies on what fat does to your brain, it acts like heroin. So it's carbs, it's fat, it's massive levels of sodium. Go to Europe sometime and like taste their pastries and taste some of their food. It's like, it doesn't taste as salty and as sugary is our stuff. So obesity will come from that, right? And then scarcity. This is another one, this is a big one. I am only failing because this other guy's succeeding, so f him. You want someone else to fail. Rule number 5 in Men of Action is we never talk about people behind their back. If someone's doing better than us, then that means we need to learn from them. So that's where that whole concept of scarcity comes. I can't, the scarcity also comes, I had a conversation with a guy recently, and he meets all of the girls he dates through this like one social outlet. And he doesn't want to do any social media. He doesn't want to try anything else because he doesn't want to screw it up. He doesn't want to screw up his social outlet. And then that way, like his friends will think crazy about him. It was a salsa dancer. And you know what I did? I showed him, like literally, he told me what his dance class was. And I showed him 25 people in the same dance class as him that were already posting on social media. It's like he didn't want to give of himself because he had a scarcity mentality. A lot of times excessive levels of logic and analysis cause you to have that level of scarcity, okay? Poverty. Poverty can be a poverty of mind, meaning like we say, like a scarcity mentality, or it could be financial poverty. But here's another type of poverty. Let's say you make a lot of money, you make $50,000 a month and you spend $45,000, right? That's a different type of poverty. You are a consumerist mindset that makes you think that you always have to compete with other people. That's a different type of poverty. Believing you must always be in debt is a mental type of poverty. Also, you know, when we go over this idea of like you not wanting your friends to succeed because you see them all as competition, that is another type of poverty. It's a mental poverty. Here's the biggest one when it comes to mental poverty. You believing that you don't need to read any books. And the reason you don't need to read any books is because you got it all solved. You see this a lot of times with like guys who are dating coaches who never want to learn any new stuff because the learning has stopped. They think that they know everything already. That is a type of mental poverty. But then there's also the main type of poverty, which is you're doing a job where you're trading time for money. When you want to become wealthy, you're going to be trading money for time. A great book that describes this is called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. And he goes over these concepts. Basically, when you're working at McDonald's, you're trading your time for money. So like say you make, $10, $15, $20 an hour, you're trading your time specifically for money. It's not scalable. You can only work more hours. Later on, Ryan Panetta he says it's around $250,000 a year. I think it's actually less than that. There's a point where you need to start paying people to take away some of the tasks that cause you to waste your time. And when you do so, you spend more time doing the things that fuel you mentally and actually make you more money in your business. So a great example would be me, Grant, and Miguel with our company, Men of Action. Grant, he does all the back end work. He likes to do the coding. He's fueled by doing this. He does the coding. Miguel has a degree. He has a master's in financial mathematics. So he does the payroll. He does, and he also handles the live events because he was really, really big into pickup. So Miguel does a lot of that stuff, a lot of the organizational stuff as far as the company's concerned. I just want to make content and coach. That's all I want to do. I want to coach. I want to coach hundreds of thousands of people. We have 3,000 guys in the program right now. We have several hundred testimonials, video testimonials. That's all I want to do. Now, it doesn't mean that's all I do. Obviously, I got to pay my taxes too. You know, I got to fill out forms and do all this administrative work being the CEO of this company. But all I want to do, the things that empower me and empower this company and the things that give me the most amount of time where I'm the most efficient for the company is for me to make content and for me to coach, for me to do fulfillment. So that's the thing I've identified. Another great book that kind of describes what your strengths are is going to be the E-Myth Revisited. The E-Myth Revisited. It's going to tell you, are you the entrepreneur? Are you the technician? Or are you the manager? Right? For me, surprisingly, even though I'm the CEO, I would consider myself to be the technician. I like to get my hands dirty. I like to actually function. And then, like, for instance, I specialized before I was filming content like this. I was actually a videographer for a long time, and I did some photography. So this was my specialty, right? And then later on, I got behind the camera, or I got in front of the camera, and I started doing interviews. So I'm a technician at heart. I'm also a technician because I'm a former U.S. military officer. I'm an aviator. Aviators are generally, we have to be technicians. We have to be managers too, but mainly technicians. So we kind of find, you know, I would probably say Grant's the entrepreneur. I would probably say that Miguel is the manager, and I'd probably say that I'm the technician in this company. So you kind of figure out what are the things that build you up, that give you strength. When you have those things, then you're not stuck in this kind of poverty, this mental poverty. Also, guys, not being able to manage your time is another type of mental poverty. It really is. It is a type of mental poverty. So I want you to think about this one more time. We have poverty, we have obesity, we have scarcity, we have these different things that are causing you to fail in life. And here's how you end up going down this river, right? Obesity, scarcity, ignorance, and poverty. You just do what the media tells you. That's it. You just listen to uneducated pop psychologists. You listen to the American Psychological Association. You listen to men and women trying to tell you that the idealized form of masculinity is whatever Cardi B thinks it is, or whatever the American Psychological Association. They don't want you to be too stoic. All you have to do is just listen to the rhetoric that's out there. All you have to do, if you want to know how you go down this river, go listen to Scott Galloway and do the opposite of what he says. Scott Galloway has identified, and by the way, Scott Galloway is a progressive, he's a liberal. He's identified perfectly the way masculinity has been shamed. If you can just recognize that masculinity is being shamed and you say, okay, I'm not going to do those things. What would a masculine man do? A masculine man would actually try to build up his friends. He would have abundance. A masculine man would understand he needs to provide for his family. He would not be in poverty. He would have wealth and abundance. A masculine man, a real masculine man, would understand he needs to protect his family. He would not be obese, okay? He would not have obesity. He would not have poverty. And a masculine man would understand in order for him to scale his business, to protect his friends and his family, he would have to educate himself. He would not be ignorant. True masculinity has to deal with individualism. A masculine man is not going to judge another man by the way he raises his kids. As long as his kids are healthy and happy, that's this is the big difference between progressivism and conservatism. A conservative man who's a cowboy can look at a stockbroker and say, hey, stockbroker, I admire the way that you raise your children. And the stockbroker can look at the cowboy and say, hey, you know what? I love the way that you raise your family. I don't judge you for that. We can be individual. A Christian man and a Muslim man can respect the way that we worship and respect the way that we raise our family, because that's what conservatism is and masculinity is. It's individualism. Think of Charles Bronson. Think of that type of masculinity, that ancient type of masculinity. Think about, King Leonidas, right? Think about that, like taking up ownership of the problem onto yourself. That's what masculinity is. That's actually where it lies. Think about what progressivism is. It's groupthink. And again, think about femininity. What is it? It's groupthink. It's socialism. What is it? It's groupthink. It's this idea, this communal idea that it takes a village in order for us to make a decision. And listen, you can follow some different places on the scale, but a masculine man is probably not going to do those things where it's like, again, I'm going to just say this is my opinion. If you find this offensive, I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but I have thousands of clients. Right now, I'm at 3,000 clients, and I've dealt with thousands of people before this. And in a relationship, generally, I'm talking about 80, 85, 90% of the time, a man is going to have to lead in a relationship. If he doesn't lead, then eventually you get into a really, really ugly situation. It's a very unique situation in a relationship with a woman where when you do everything she asks you to do, she generally is going to punish you for it. You guys know what I'm saying is true. Anybody here who's been out here in these streets dating for the last 10 years, you understand that a woman is going to lead you down a path generally that's going to cause you for her to lose attraction and interest because you're losing the frame and you're doing exactly what she wants. Now, this is confusing for a lot of successful men because if you're out here and you work at like a law office as an associate and you do every single thing that the law office asks you to do, they promote you. But when you do everything that your wife or girlfriend asks you to do, she punishes you. And it doesn't make any sense, which is why so many guys have such a hard time with this logical understanding, right? A lot of masculine men, they use logic, reason, and accountability in order to make a great deal of money, but in relationships, it doesn't work the same way. So you need to ask yourself, are you floating down this river of obesity, poverty, scarcity? Are you floating down this river where every day you just get a little bit fatter? Every day you just start believing the bullshit that other people tell you without checking it for yourself? Every day you don't understand these concepts of leadership and accountability? Do you not do those things? You got to ask yourself today, like, am I doing that? Or am I just letting other people make decisions for me in my life because I don't know? Look, here's the thing, guys. For a lot of you right now, being a leader is scary. And the reason why it's scary, it's super simple how you become a leader. The first step to becoming a leader is not to talk louder. The first step to becoming a leader is to be willing to become such a subject matter expert that you can take accountability for a situation. So, for instance, when I was a mission commander in a KC-135, the thing I needed to do was be more sharp and more educated on the route, the ingress and egress route to the mission and where all the emergency airfields were. I had to be better at understanding that than the pilot or the co-pilot did because I was the navigator. That is something that's really important to understand. When you improve your general knowledge, that's when you can truly become a leader. Leaders first need to educate themselves, and then also they need to take accountability whether or not it's their fault. When you can do that, you can lead in a family, you can lead in a religious organization, you can lead in a military unit, or you can lead a company. That's the truth. That's what you have to do. So understanding these concepts, am I surrounding myself with people that make excuses, that find there's the Illuminati or the Rothschilds or whatever, or the reason why I'm poor? If you're around those people, do you really want to be them? By the way, everything they say could be true. There really could be reptiles under Antarctica that are secretly ruling the world. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that is what's happening. But even if it is happening, you can be rich in 2025. You can get ripped in 2025. You could be a dangerous, dangerous man in 2025. Even if the reptiles are living under Antarctica, you can still do those things. Even if the CIA did kill Kennedy, even if we did fake the moon landing, even if all that's true, even if the earth is flat, you can still be a dangerous, effective, efficient killer. And I mean killer in a positive sense in 2025. You can still meet the woman of your dreams in 2025. You can still do all those things. So I want to ask you guys to make a promise for me. This is a Men of Action course. I want you to make a decision today and put it in the comments down there if you've decided to make this decision with me. Make the decision that you're going to be a little bit more wary of who you choose to spend your time with. So the 5 people that you look up to, like my 5 big brothers. I mean, there's a lot of them, but I would say a lot of the people I would look up as big brothers, like Brad Lee would definitely be one. Some guy, I watch his stuff, I look up to him all the time. I would definitely say Justin Waller, Rollo Tomasi. I would say Adam Sosnick, I would consider him like a big brother. I would say Dan Fleischman, Ty Lopez. I would definitely say, even though I'm older than all these guys except for Brad and Rollo, I would consider these guys to be big brothers to me. that I've learned so much stuff from. And I've learned so much stuff from Greg O'Gallagher. I've learned so much stuff from Brandon Carter, from Mike Rashid. I've learned so much stuff from Wes Watson. I know you guys is super controversial, but I've learned so much stuff about business from him. You guys learn, you meet these dudes. I watch Davis De Las Morenas and my man Alex Costa and FedEx Fearless and Austin Dunham. These are the people who I would like to surround myself with. These are the people who I would like because they have an inspirational idea and I love their ideas. Aaron Clary would be another one. These are guys that I look at them and I'm like, I'm so grateful that I can just pick up the phone and call some of these guys and they can help me out. And by the way, I look up, well, I can see the logo somewhere. I look up to Dan too. Dan has been an inspiration for me to be very, very helpful in a lot of my business ventures as well. I know he has a lot of controversial issues. I know we're going to see it in the comments, his controversial issues. You know, he's my brother. I'm not going to sell him out just because it's controversial. So, you know, a lot of these situations, guys, make a decision. Who are you going to spend your time with in 2025? That's the first thing. Number two, are you going to choose to not be ignorant? Are you going to choose to educate yourself? Are you going to choose to not have scarcity? You're going to choose to have abundance. Are you going to choose to not be obese? Are you going to choose, maybe check out intermittent fasting, maybe check out a paleo diet? And are you going to choose to not be in poverty? Guys, let me tell you something. The federal government is not the best place to put your money. The federal government raising your taxes is not the best way. The most efficient use of money, the most efficient place to put money, do you know where it is? In your hands. The most efficient place to put money is in your hands, okay? The most efficient place to put money is not in other people's hands, it's in your hands. So are you gonna make the decision that, hey, I'm gonna have a level of freedom and independence and be able to take care of my kids and my grandkids and my nieces and nephews in case one of my family members has a medical emergency, am I gonna have enough money to take care of them? Have you made that decision? If you have, I want you to make these 4 pacts with me. I'm not gonna be ignorant, I'm not gonna have scarcity, I'm not gonna have obesity, and I'm not gonna have poverty. I'm gonna choose to educate myself, I'm gonna choose to take accountability. I'm gonna buy back my time and I'm gonna figure out what my specialties are and I'm gonna become the most efficient, ripped, rich, and rare that I could possibly be in 2025, regardless if the aliens built the pyramids. I'm not gonna make any excuses. I'll see you in the next video.